Let's start with our lead story and, of course, the Southport stabbing attack. Now, big development because the suspect has just been named for the first time. He just appeared in court just a few hours ago, and he's been named as Axel Rudakubana. Now, he is 17 years old. He's just been charged with the murder of those 3 girls in Southport. And it's really important to remember this, the attempted murder of 10 others, and that all happened on Monday. Later this afternoon, the Prime Minister is going to meet with top police chiefs after those violent protests, and no doubt we will hear more about that throughout the course of the day. And as I said, 100 demonstrators were arrested in central London around the Whitehall area last night. A police car was set alight in Hartlepool. Let's speak with Tom Witherow. He is our news reporter for The Times, who is in Southport to get the latest developments. Tom, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
So tell us about events this morning, particularly this suspect appearing in court.
Yeah, so he made 2 appearances in court this morning. The first one in the youth court in front of a magistrate, where he was formally charged with 10 counts of attempted murder and 3 counts of murder of those 3 young girls that we saw earlier in the week. Then moved to the Crown Court, where he was remanded in a youth custody, where he'll remain through the trial process. And the next hearing is a pre-trial hearing in October. And then crucially for our understanding of this story, the media put an application in for reporting restrictions to be lifted, which is why, despite him being 17, we're able to report that his name is Axel Rudakubana for the first time.
And why has the judge decided to do that? I mean, we've just been doing some research. I mean, it looks like the suspect was due to turn 18, an adult, in 6 days' time. Is that a factor in the judge naming him?
Absolutely. So it's pretty exceptional to name defendants who are under the age of 18, but clearly this alleged crime is exceptional. And the judge did say that the very short amount of time until his 18th birthday was a factor. But he also pointed to the issues that were happening around the country due to the vacuum of information. And there's little doubt that events that have happened since those terrible stabbings on Monday impacted his decision.
That's interesting in terms of that vacuum of information. And look, Tom, what was his demeanour in court? What was the atmosphere like in court?
Yeah, so my Times colleague, Constance Kampfner, was in court, and she said that he was in there in tracksuits and what appeared to be a pair of slippers. When he came to sit down in the dock, he turned towards the reporters and smiled. And then for the majority of the hearing, sat there with a jumper over his face. So, we really don't have very much information about his motive at this stage. We don't have very much information about what he may or may not be saying to the police. But that is where we are at the moment.
And what's the latest as well with the other people? Obviously, we know this terrible news about those 3 wee girls that have died, but what's the update on other adults and children who were caught up in this attack?
Yes, so the news is broadly positive. I think 2 more children have come out of hospital, which is great news. And one of the families of the adults was interviewed by one of the Times journalists yesterday. They said they had no memory of the attack. Absolutely extraordinary story of bundling children into cupboards, covering them and taking the blows from the knife themselves. But it certainly seems for now, the news is good that those 10 other people who were very seriously injured in that knife attack are recovering as expected.
Okay, well, look, Tom, thanks very much for that update. That's Tom Witherow, who is one of our reporters for the Times newspaper. Lots of messages coming in. Stephen's messaging saying it's probably too late, but a start must be made in moderating the content of social media. It's a double-edged sword, and it must have catalysed the demonstrations and misinformed thousands. I think that's absolutely right. Alan has messaged in saying, why is there constant but justified condemnation on Times Radio of the protests in Hartlepool and London, but no comparison with the riots in Hare Hills, Leeds, where police were chased away. A police car was overturned and a bus set on by non-white rioters who created just as much mayhem as in Hartlepool, but no arrest. The police are very selective. It's one of these reasons that the population feels ignored. I doubt this post will be aired because it doesn't suit the prevailing media and establishment focus. Well, there you go, Alan. Your view has just been aired by this terrible one-sided media conspiracy.
A 17-year-old boy has appeared in court charged with the murders of 3 girls at a dance class in Southport on Monday. The teenager from Banks in Lancashire appeared in the dock in Liverpool Magistrates Court this morning, facing 3 counts of murder, 10 counts of attempted murder and possession of a bladed article. 8 other children and 2 adults suffered knife wounds in the attack. 2 of those children have been released from hospital today. Violent disorder broke out across the country last night after fake claims on social media that the suspect is a Muslim asylum seeker who arrived in the UK in a small boat. The Prime Minister is holding an emergency meeting with police chiefs this afternoon to discuss how to prevent further unrest. One town that saw riots was Hartlepool, where a police car was set on fire. This was the scene there as demonstrators threw bricks and bottles at the police. Well, joining me now is the Labour MP for Hartlepool, Jonathan Brash. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What do you make of what happened in your constituency last night?
The scenes we saw last night in Hartlepool were absolutely appalling. There is no excuse and no justification from what we saw. And I've been speaking to local businesses who were attacked last night. We've seen cars burnt out. And I just want to make really clear, these people don't speak for Hartlepool. They don't represent the values of our town. It's clearly coordinated, and we're working with the police closely to try and prevent any further such incidents in the coming days. But I would just always say to Hartlepool people is to come together, as they always do, to stand up against this kind of behaviour, because it's not what Hartlepool's about.
You say they don't represent Hartlepool, but do you think people from Hartlepool were involved?
I've no idea who was involved at this point. Clearly, there is some indication that this was coordinated on social media and that people came in from out of town. But the key thing is the victims last night were Hartlepool people, Hartlepool businesses, residents. It's a residential area, living in fear, waking up this morning. And I've been inundated with messages from people from Hartlepool today, completely appalled and distraught by what they've seen on their streets. It's a tiny minority of lawless individuals who are looking for any excuse, frankly, to perpetrate this kind of behaviour. And there's no justification for it. I know the police have done an exceptional job in ensuring that arrests have been made and investigations continue to identify other people involved. And I hope they're prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. What
was the extent last night of the injuries to people and also the arrests?
I'm not aware of specific injuries at this point. I'm getting an update from the police later. There have been arrests made, and I know that police are investigating social media footage to try and identify more people. The key thing last night was the violence and the disorder, attacks on businesses, glass smashed everywhere in the road. The council teams were out this morning to clear up, and thankfully the area is back to normal today. And I've been so proud to see local community groups pitching in, helping clean up the street. Donations of food have been made for people who might have been affected last night. It's hard for people coming together. But as I say, this doesn't reflect or represent what Hartlepool's about. It's a tiny minority of people looking for any excuse to engage in this appalling behaviour.
The people who have taken part in these protests in England, when interviewed, they tend to say enough is enough and they're demonstrating because of immigration. Are there significant racial tensions in Hartlepool?
Look, I think that what we've seen in recent years is a complete breakdown of both the asylum system and the immigration system in this country. And there are completely legitimate views on that that people do express and people are concerned. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And peaceful demonstration and people raising questions is completely in order and correct. And we need to have that debate openly with the public here in Hartlepool. But what we saw last night wasn't that. It was an excuse. They were using it as a justification to go on the rampage, smashing up businesses of local people who've been here in Hartlepool for 40 years. So yes, there's a debate to be had about asylum and immigration, but last night wasn't about that. It was about a small number of lawless individuals looking for any excuse to participate in appalling behaviour.
So what would you like the Prime Minister, your Prime Minister, to say to police chiefs when he meets them this afternoon?
I think first and foremost, the clearest message we can make is we need visible police presence on our streets this evening to make sure that there is no repeat of this, that people are kept safe, that people have got confidence in that, and in the coming days to ensure that the people who are orchestrating this largely on social media are tracked down and dealt with appropriately, because they are clearly inciting violence, not just here in Hartlepool, but right across the country. And we need the police to be going after these people to stop them.
Jonathan Brash, MP for Hartlepool, Labour MP for Hartlepool, thank you very much indeed.